Hello and welcome back to the Games Kingdom. My name is Carl King and today we have another playthrough of Luke Laurie's excellent game Dwellings of Eldervale. Today I will be playing as the Atlantean faction, and as you can see we've got everything set up for start of the game. The sort of starting tiles are laid out. We've got obviously the factions that I'm playing, and obviously the monster for that, and 3 other factions and the relevant monsters with their sound effect bases. We have the ghosts set up here with their starting adventure card, which I've rolled for, and then obviously we have the scoring track board, glory track and elemental track set up here. So without any sort of further ado, we'll get going, and what we'll see what happens today in Eldervale. So my first action will be to place here, and I will take a couple of potions there, and obviously with the action of that, the Watcher goes into the same realm as my piece. Each time I place a piece down, the Watcher goes in, and then that will determine where the ghosts go. So we'll put out their starting potential cards. We'll roll a dice here in the tray. That's a 3, so it says place and construct a dwelling straight away. So they go straight down on the board because they can. On this one it's up and to the right, and they get to construct their first dwelling, and then a new card comes out. So what we'll see here is obviously constructing dwellings for the ghosts is obviously very their turn is very specific, and so as it says here, some cards will indicate that a ghostly dwelling will be constructed. So if it says dwell in the Watcher's realm, dwell adjacent, check adjacent realms to see if the realm that contains a ghost worker does not contain a dwelling. If there is more than one such realm, choose. If a ghost builds a dwelling, they gain VP in the same manner as a living player and advance on the appropriate elemental track. So obviously there is a specific set way of doing this, so that when you build realms you get obviously points. So you get for each realm, for each ruin adjacent to the new dwelling, you score 2 VPs. So because it's here, there's 1, 2, 3 ruins, so it's going to score 6 VPs, so it's going to go up to, it's now on 8, and also it goes up on the elemental track as well. So it then joins me because it's in the same realm as my starting faction has, and we'll come back to myself. So if I go in, I can now go into that realm if I wish, but obviously it won't trigger a battle because you can't trigger a battle with a dwelling, only with units from another player if it isn't a dwelling, but also only once everybody has regrouped, and obviously in this game that's myself and the ghosts. So you don't start any battles until everyone has regrouped at least once. So if you're in a sort of multiplayer game, you can sort of get quite a bit done on the board and build up some resources before you get to the stage where you're starting to sort of combat with other players and or monsters. So back to myself, you only start with 3 workers, so we'll see where we can go, and you have to place adjacent to another worker if you are only using workers in this sort of first round. So I'm going to go into this realm here, and I'll take another couple of potions. And so the Watcher then switches into this realm, and we go back to the ghosts. We see what the ghosts are going to do. Oh, they would have taken one of these as well. So they're going to do this. So again, that is they will get a new adventure card. Now they can't go into the realm next to me because there isn't a realm there, so they place in the same realm as the Watcher. But again, it doesn't trigger a battle because there's no regrouping being done. But they do get a new adventure card. We roll a dice, it's a 1, and they get one of the yellow cards. So that goes into their pile of cards, and they score points for these and other things at the end of the game. So that goes back into the discard, and we draw another card for them potentially to use next turn. So this is my last worker of this turn, and I have to, as I say, I have to go into a realm where I am adjacent. So I could go into the fortress and swap a couple of things. I could go into the portal and pay to bring out another worker, but don't really want to sort of do that yet. So I think what I'll do, I'll go here and I'll take a couple of scrolls. They might come in handy at some point, and I'm going to cash in all of the potions, and they go into the discard tray, and I get 4 new potions. So now the Watcher comes into here. We roll to see where we're going to use a thing from. So this turn it's one of these, and again it says it would normally or would like to come down into here, but there is no tile, so it ends up sitting in there, and again gets a new adventure card, which is a 3. So it gets one of these, and we'll put those together as they're the same faction. Now I haven't got any workers left, so I'm going to start to regroup. So I'm going to take back this guy first, and I'm going to build a dwelling in here with this worker. That goes on there. I have to pay 3 potions to build that dwelling, but I go up 2 spaces on the glory track, and these glory track numbers are the victory points that you will also get for that particular number at the end of the game. And if you're the first to get to the end of the track, you also take the orb. So I've got 1 more to come back. Let's see what we want to do. I could gather a resource, or I could pay for another worker, which is what I think I'm going to do. I'm going to bring out the wizard, which is 2 potions and a scroll, and I'm also going to cash in that and get 2 scrolls. You can do these sorts of actions any time, these sort of cashing in actions, but I've paid for my wizard to come out now, so that will be available to me this coming turn. So they go out there. Now the ghosts only regroup, and I go up now onto the start of the glory track. The ghosts will only regroup when you roll a number and there are no workers for them to take off the ghost starting area when you've rolled that particular number. So if this was empty, for example, and I rolled a 1, a 2 or a 3, then the ghosts would begin their regroup move. But until that point they don't regroup, so they stay out on the board. But now it means that if I go into any of the realms where they are, or a adjacent realm, they will rush in and they will then potentially come in, and a battle will sort of ensue, and we'll sort of do that sort of combat. So I've got 2 workers and a wizard. My special thing for the wizard in this particular faction of the Atlanteans is that when I use my wizard to perform an action, I may substitute potions to pay any resource costs, which is quite good because I can use those for sort of paying different area dwellings if I want to, if I have a shortfall. And on my workers, when I regroup, if you have 3 or more workers in Eldervale, which I did, you may advance 1 space on the glory track. So I can go up to here, and because I did have 3 when I started to regroup, and I get 2 victory points. So got to try and keep an eye on that, because that will give me an advance on the glory track each time. But also that will only work until whilst I've got 3 workers. Once I do my 4th dwelling, if I get that far, then obviously when I start to regroup, that thing won't happen, because once they're a dwelling, they're not classed as a worker any further. So that wouldn't be the case once I've got 4 dwellings down, so I'd lose that power. But up until that point, it's quite good. I've got some magic cards that I can use, and the magic cards that the ghost player gets during the game, they become victory points at the end. They don't use the magic cards for anything other than if they have, say, 12 of them at the end of the game, that's 12 victory points extra to them. They start with 5, so they've already got 5 victory points in that manner. So they didn't regroup, I did, so it's back to them. We've lost the card on the floor. So let's see what they do. 5, so that's the worker from the centre again, and this one is, they would normally go down here, but they don't, so they go in where the watcher is again, but then they place a new realm tile, and they can place this realm tile anywhere, but we'll stick it down here just as this was the one that was indicated. So that's an extra realm that we can potentially go into now, both myself and the ghosts. Now with the wizard, you don't need to do the action where somebody has to be adjacent. So there are different rules for different units within the game when they are placed. So you get, as I say, different workers, and they obviously will place differently. So the dragon may be placed up to 2 realms away from one of your units. Your wizard may be placed in any unoccupied realm, so it can go anywhere in Eldervale, so it doesn't have to follow any of the sort of adjacent or 2 space rules away if you don't want to. And the warrior, if you have no other units in Eldervale, the warrior may be placed directly in an occupied realm for a first placement, so you can automatically start a fight if you want to by placing the worker. But obviously I haven't got the worker out at the minute as an available unit, so I've just got 2 workers and the wizard. So let's try and see where we want to go. I could force a battle if I wanted to. but I think we'll err on the side of caution for the moment, and we'll go in here, we'll take this, but I'll immediately cash that in and get an extra sword. Swords you can play when there is a combat, and each sword that you spend gives you an extra dice in combat. So let's see where the ghost is going to go. We'll fill that up first. It's a 2, so it comes here. Oh, the watcher should have gone here. It can't go up here, so it's going to start a fight in there because there's 2 units and nobody else can bring anything in, and so we'll have a quick fight. But what I have realised is I didn't get any points when I placed my realm dwelling in there, and I would get 2, 4, 6, so very similar to the points that the ghosts got, because they were surrounded also by 3 of the realms. But also because there is a dwelling, or there was a dwelling already down when I placed mine, I get 2 points for that as well. So I'm going to actually score, or should have scored, another 8 points, so we'll go up to 11. But what we'll do now is we've got a combat in here now. At the minute we're only rolling 1 dice each, because the watcher doesn't add anything into a battle. It's just to signify where the starting point is for any action that they would take or any placement. But I'm going to spend one of my swords, goes back in the supply, and I'm going to be rolling 2 dice. So, and it's literally whoever scores the highest on the dice. So if I get a 5 and a 4 and the ghost rolls a single 6 on this 1 dice, he wins. So we've both scored a 3, so they cancel each other out, but because I've got that second dice and he hasn't, then I win. He goes into the underworld, and I move up 1 on the glory track, and I can take a resource of my choosing, and I think I'll take a potion, as they are basically wild resources for me at the minute. And that goes away, but we still need to place a new realm tile. Oh, it's a monster, and I think where would we place that? Let's place that up here, and the red monster comes out. We have to put a stack of tokens on it as well. It doesn't rush in straight away, it only rushes when somebody places in a space next to it, and because that was already that unit was already there, that won't rush straight in. But anything that moves into anything adjacent to it now, the monster will rush into combat, and it's the volcanic terror. So we'll turn the card over. So that was the ghost's action. So it's back to me, and let's see what we want to do here. I think we're going to risk another combat here. I'm going to go into here. I'm going to take this and cash it straight in again to get a gold coin. We'll leave these on here for future. So because I've placed here, all of the ghost units are going to rush in, because that's what they do, and my other unit is going to come in. So it would normally mean that I would have 2 dice and the ghost would have 3, but I'm going to spend my last sword and even up the contest and have 3 dice each. So again, we roll the dice and we compare numbers, and it's again simply whoever scores the highest. So I've scored a 6, a 5 and a 3, and the ghost has scored a 5, a 4 and a 3. So that means that I'm going to win the combat. All of their units, actually because they had a unit in the Eldervale, they get an extra dice because all of their units in Eldervale generate dice as well. So we'll roll an extra dice for them. Unfortunately, they didn't score a 6, so they still lose. So their others go into Eldervale, but that does mean if there are any other combats, they'll get 4 dice from that as well. I go again up on the glory track, and it means I can move up on a single track. So I'm going to continue my progress up my own track rather than start another one. And I think that's it for me. I've now got 2 units in this realm, and that's the only way that you can potentially get more than, or one of the few ways that you can get more than one of your own units in a realm together. So we go back to the ghosts. Let's see where and what they're going to do. So the Watcher comes in there. It's a 2, so it's this one, and it says construct a dwelling. Although it says they're going to place a unit in here in the portal. They don't really care about these ruins, which are these sort of fortress, portal, the mill, the mage tower and the dungeon. It's just that when they regroup, any of their units that are on any of those tiles score them victory points. So they don't take any of the actions, whereas a normal player can only go on to any tile if they can perform that action, if there is an action specific thing on that tile, like any of the ruins. If you can't perform that action, you can't actually go onto that tile. But with the ghosts, they don't care. They just simply sit in there. They're also there, obviously, that they can go in, and they are a blocker and things. I could rush in there and fight, but I'm not sure I want to. And then they construct a dwelling. So we will go. They can't construct in the Watcher's dwelling, which is their preferred choice. So number 2, they've already done it. Number 3, they can't. Number 4, they can't, but they can in number 5. Although they can't do that because this guy here is the warrior, and you don't construct dwellings with warriors. So they're not going to do that. So we'll sort of give them another card. And that goes into discard. So I've only got my mage stroke wizard left. Let's see where we can go. I think we'll come in here and we'll take another potion, which we'll immediately cash in and take as a resource. You can only have a maximum of 4 of those saved up, but to be honest, a lot of the time it's just as easy to cash them in because they're going to be sitting in there and you can use them at any point. So that's my turn done. The Watcher moves in with the wizard to see what happens. It's a 2, so as I said earlier, there's nothing here, so they don't do anything else other than regroup. So these all come back from the underworld. They don't do any actions like you would do when you come back from the underworld. But as I say, this warrior, when he comes back, he scores them 2 victory points. So they got to 10. And I haven't got anybody left to place, so again I'm going to be coming back and regrouping. I can't do any dwellings because I've already got one in that area, and you can't dwell in an area unless you have a worker there, because workers are the only type of unit that you can actually turn into a dwelling. So obviously we've got these sorts of things that sort of sit in there. So the first one I'm going to bring back, I'm going to summon a new unit, and I'm going to spend 1 diamond and 2 potions, because I can spend Actually, if I can only do that if I bring and use the wizard. I can perform any action using the potion. So we'll do the wizard to come back, and we'll use 2 potions and a gem, and we'll bring out the dragon as an available unit. This guy is going to come back and we'll get another potion. What can we do? You can only perform actions once if you know, on these cards, and I haven't got any other adventure cards yet, so this guy's going to come back, but he's not actually going to generate and do anything. So now I've got 4 units. I've got 2 workers, a wizard and the dragon to use. So we're back to the ghosts. They've got a full complement again here. Well, apart from one guy who's now a dwelling. So we'll see what happens, what they're going to do. It's a 4, so it's this one here. He goes in here because that's next to the watcher, and we get to put another new realm tile out, and it's another monster. We'll come down here and we'll put this monster out. So we put some tokens out. In actual fact, I failed to put some tokens on this one earlier. So we've got only 2 for that, and we've got 3 on this one. Because every time you put a realm out, you're supposed to put the new sort of treasure tokens. Once they're all gone off a realm like that, then you simply get the standard sort of one there. You don't get to choose, whereas on these ones sometimes there is a choice. You know, you can get things where there is either a scroll or a sword that you can pick, or a scroll and a potion. Sometimes they are doubles, like this, you get one of each. If there's 2 without the sort of line down the center, you get both of those. So that monster is the Living Storm. So basically, when a battle is triggered with the Living Storm, all adjacent units must join the battle, and lightning bolt spells may not be used in battle with the Living Storm. They just don't have an effect. And with the volcano, as long as the volcanic terror is in Eldervale, all magic cards may be used as if they were fireball spells. Adds 2 battle dice. And fire resistance. Fireball spells may not be used in battle with a volcanic terror. So you can use it, but you can't use it against it specifically. So you could use it against the Living Storm because that's a fireball and not the lightning bolt. But at the minute we haven't got that, so we'll just sort of continue with how things are going currently. That goes away, they get a new card, and it's back to me to start placing. So let's see what we want to do first off. I think we'll come into this realm here, and we'll take a scroll straight away. So again, back to the ghost. That was my go. The watcher stays where it is because that was the last place I went to in the previous round and the first one that I'd gone to in this. So a 6. We take this. Oh, again, drop the card. But it does say that we are supposed to place it down and to the left, which we can't do, so it's going to go in here. and that's going to trigger a battle. There are no ghosts in the underworld. I don't have any swords, so basically there's nothing else to rush in, so it's just a straight 1 dice roll off each, and again I win 6-1, so that goes into the underworld. I go into here and I get an orb to place, so I can keep this orb and use it later on a potential card. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to immediately take 3 victory points and go up to 14 on the track. So that was the ghost's turn. It came into the same realm as me, and that was its only action. No other sort of placements and things. Everything is shown at the bottom of the card if there is another action for the ghost to take, and that card is one of those that doesn't have anything. So back to myself. Now I could force a battle with the storm by playing the dragon. The dragon gets 3 dice. The living storm, however, gets 5 dice in combat, so could be quite nasty, that. Actually, that other unit should have rushed in here. It wouldn't have made any difference, but it would have meant that it lost both of their units. You only go up once on the glory track, however many things you kill off, but it does mean that they've got 2 in the underworld now rather than 1, and as I say, they get dice now if there are any other combats involving any of the ghost units. They add those dice into the battle, so their workers get 1, the warrior gets 2, and the dragon gets 3. So it's back to me. So I have to either place the dragon in a realm in a different area, or I can go with a worker, but that needs to be adjacent. And I think what we'll do, we'll go in here, which is adjacent, and we'll take we'll take 2 more scrolls immediately. You can only have a maximum of 5 of any one resource at one time, and I'm now up to the limit of those, which is why I took that instead of the single potion. Even though I can use potions as any resource, that puts me up to the maximum, so anything else I would need to take other resources before doing anything else, and by taking scrolls. And if I go into a realm where the only tile is a scroll, then I wouldn't get that resource. I couldn't take it if I can't put it into my... Well, I could take the treasure token, but I can't cash it in. You can have those, so that means that when you spend stuff, you can then cash those in at a later date and rebuild up your stack. But you can't have any more than 5 of any resource in your trays as actual resources at any point in the game. So the watcher goes in here. We roll and see where the ghosts are going to go. It's a 4, and they're going to go in the realm adjacent, and that's all they do. I could rush in and fight, but I don't want to. So it's back to me. So I think I'm going to, with the wizard, go on to the mill. Now the mill is a way of getting a dwelling out on the board without having to do a regroup action. So immediately I go there, because it can go into any unoccupied area. I'm going to spend 3 scrolls, and I'm going to build a new dwelling with this worker here. That goes on here, and I go up 2 on that specific track, which is this one, because you go up the amount of symbols that are at the top of the tile. So some of them have 2 and some of them only have 1. There are I think 1 double for everything, and all the others have singles. You don't go up on any tracks if you go into any of the ruin tiles, but you do get obviously the benefit of whatever the action is, and I also score 2 full victory points because of the proximity of ruins and a dwelling. Even though that is my dwelling, I still get points for it, as well as any of other players' dwellings that are on adjacent tiles. So we go back to the ghosts. We need to fill in a card again. 3. So I have a worker. They're going to go into the mage tower, and they gain 2 magic cards. So as I said earlier, this is, we don't need to look at them. What that is, that's just stopping me gaining those cards, and it also means that they are extra 2 victory points for them at the end of the game. Now I've only got the dragon left, so I could go into somewhere and have a battle. I'm not sure if I want to do that or whether I do, to be honest, at the minute. Not sure what I want to do, really. You know what? Oh, yeah, it's going to get... I'm going to risk it. I'm going to go here. I'm going to take this. I can immediately cash that in because I've spent some of these scrolls, so I'm down to 2. But this means that these 2 rush in, so that stops the ghost scoring points from being on the 2 tiles at the next regroup stage for them. But it also means that the monster's going to rush. So the monster gets 5 dice, the ghosts are going to get 4 dice, and I will get 3 from the dragon, or I could put my worker in from here. But if I do that and lose the battle, it goes into the underworld. I get a sword for each one, but it means also when I want to do a regroup action, I'm going to only have 1 unit coming back. So I'm not going to put that worker in because my next action will be a regroup. So I'm going to have 3. The ghosts are going to get 4 dice, so we'll roll those, and then I'm going to use these other 5 dice outside of the dice tray for the monster. So the monster rolls 6, 4, 3, 2 and 1. Let's see what myself and the ghosts roll. Well, the ghosts win because they've got 2 6s, so they kill the monster, so the monster dies. They go up on the glory track. They don't score any or get any resources, but they do go up on the glory track for winning a battle. My dragon goes into the underworld and I get a sword, so I can use that at some point in the future on another battle. But that's got rid of one of the monsters out of the game. Most of the time they don't come back, but there are cards that will, or whatever, that can bring some of the monsters back into play. But for the minute that is out of the game, so that's quite good. But as I say, it has taken them off here, so they're scoring less points, and it's also freed up this tile here now for people to use because the monster won't come back. So as I say, that was my action. So we go back to the ghosts. Let's see what they do. A 3. So that says they're going to go to the dungeon. They don't bring out a new realm unless it says so on the cards, but they do get a new adventure card, and that's a 4, and they get another one of these. So now they've only got one worker in each of the areas, so they're getting low again and close to being regroup. I can't do anything else other than regroup because I have no people to place back out on the board. So my dragon comes back but can't do any actions, because if you're in the underworld, unless you've got cards and things that say that, you can't do anything. I could also, but I am going to play this card here. It says to complete this quest you must lose a battle, gain 3 victory points. So I'm going to play that card because I lost the battle with my dragon, so I'm going to score another 3 victory points. And the only one I can bring 2 guys back. Am I able to summon anybody? I can summon another worker, but I'm going to first off gather a potion, so that's 2, and I'm going to bring out my warrior by spending no, I'm going to bring out another worker by spending 1 resource, and that's going to be a scroll, and I get another worker. Now, because I only brought 2 guys back, or when I regrouped I only had 2 workers out there, I don't get the bonus of going up on the glory track this turn because I had 2 dwellings and obviously they don't count as workers. So back to the ghosts. Let's see what they do because I regrouped. 5, so their dragon is going to come out. I should have been, the watcher would have been there because that's where the battle was. That was my last placement. So the dragon is going to go into the dungeon. All that will do is it's going to bring in some extra. Actually, this guy should have been in here as well because he would have gone into the battle from an adjacent realm, or they won the battle anyway, but they have got all 3 guys in there. So potentially they might regroup next turn. We'll just have to see what they roll. So back to myself. I'm going to go down here, take this and immediately cash it in. For a scroll, but the monster is going to rush and a battle is going to start. It gets 5 dice, so we can use, because there's no ghost that can come in, we can use their dice. I'm going to get 3, but I'm going to use one of the sword that I've got to give me an extra die, so I get 4. All adjacent units must join the battle, but there aren't any. So we're just going to roll these, and it's a straight dice roll. And it wins. Well, actually, does it? I've got 6, 5, 5, 4. And it's got 6, 5, 5, 4. But because it's rolling one extra dice, that's really weird. We both got the same first 4 dice rolls. 6, 5, 5, 4. But it wins because of the extra dice it has. So my dragon once again goes back to the underworld. I get a sword for my trouble, but I don't win. Don't go off on the glory track. So that's a bit of a annoying factor, but that's how it goes sometimes. So now it's back to the ghosts. A 4. They've got nobody here, so they start to regroup. So we get 1, and they come back in a specific order. These are numbered, so that as they start to build dwellings, some of these areas won't have workers in because they'll be out on the board. These 3 will come back as 3, 4 and 5, so there's no worker going into area 6. The dragon will come back in, and because that was on a dungeon tile, they score points. So they're now up to almost a full complement again, although if I roll 2 6s in a row, they're going to regroup again because the wizard is there on its own. We'll contemplate what we're going to do. We've got 2 workers and a wizard left. This guy should have been down here actually, because that's where I placed my dragon. But they had their regroup action, so they didn't put anybody back out on the board. So I think what I'm going to do with I'm going to go here. No, I'm going to go here and take this diamond